Once upon a time, in a bustling city by the sparkling sea, there lived a wealthy merchant. He had a fine house, grand ships that sailed to distant lands, and treasures that glimmered in the sun. Yet his greatest treasures were his three daughters, each unique in her own way. The two older daughters were beautiful but proud. They loved dresses that shone, jewels that sparkled, and attention from anyone who would admire them. Each day, they would sit in front of mirrors, talking only about themselves and their desires. But the youngest daughter, Beauty, was different. Her joy came not from riches or applause, but from acts of kindness. She cared for animals, helped neighbors, and comforted anyone in need. Her heart was gentle, warm, and full of love. While her sisters complained about chores, Beauty sang happily as she swept the floor. She found pleasure in small things, a flower in bloom, a bird's song, or a gentle breeze. Her laughter was soft, her spirit bright, and her presence brought comfort to her father's heart. One day, life changed for the merchant's family. A violent storm had struck at sea, and most of his ships were destroyed. All his wealth, all the treasures he had worked for, were gone in a single night. The family had no choice but to leave their grand home. They moved to a small, humble cottage in the countryside. The older daughters were horrified. No dresses, no servants. "How can we live like this?" they wailed. But Beauty never complained. She cooked, cleaned, tended the garden, and comforted her sisters despite their constant nagging. Her calm, cheerful nature kept the family together in the face of misfortune. Months later, a flicker of hope appeared. The merchant received news that one of his lost ships had survived and arrived safely at the harbor. He felt a rush of excitement. Perhaps their fortune was not lost entirely. He immediately prepared to leave, asking his daughters what gifts he should bring them. The eldest requested the finest gown she had ever seen. The second demanded sparkling jewels, necklaces, bracelets, and rings. "And you, my dear Beauty?" he asked gently. She smiled softly. "All I wish for is a single rose, father. That is enough for me." The merchant kissed her forehead and promised to bring it back. He set off for the harbor, hope guiding his steps. After days of travel, he reached the harbor and his heart sank. The ship had been destroyed beyond repair, and none of the treasures remained. He felt defeated, tired, and heavy-hearted. As night fell, snow began to cover the forest path on his journey home. The cold wind whipped through the trees, and the darkness seemed endless. Hours passed as he rode, weary and anxious. Just as he thought he could go no further, a warm, golden light glimmered through the trees. Ahead stood a magnificent castle with lights shining through every window. The gates opened as if by magic. Inside, the hearth burned warmly, and a table was set with food, though no one was in sight. The merchant called out, but only silence answered. Hungry and exhausted, he ate from the table. Later, he found a soft bed and slept deeply, free from worry for the first time in weeks. When morning came, fresh clothes were laid beside his bed, and a simple breakfast awaited him. "Surely this castle belongs to a kind fairy," he whispered. "How I wish I could thank her for such generosity." As he left the castle, he noticed a garden filled with roses. They were radiant, their petals glistening with morning dew. He remembered Beauty's wish. "I cannot bring gifts to my other daughters," he thought, "but at least I can make Beauty happy." He reached out and plucked a single rose. Suddenly, the ground shook and a roar echoed through the trees. From the shadows emerged a massive beast with sharp claws, golden eyes, and a mane like fire. "How dare you steal from my garden?" The beast thundered. "I offered you shelter, food, and warmth, and this is your thanks?" The merchant fell to his knees. "Forgive me, I only wanted a rose for my daughter," he begged. "Please, do not harm me." The beast's voice rumbled like thunder. "You shall pay for this. But there is a way to save yourself. If one of your daughters comes to live with me willingly, I will spare your life." The merchant returned home with a heavy heart. When he told his daughters the story, the eldest and second daughters gasped and cried, but only Beauty listened. "Father," she said softly, "if you allow me, I will go to the beast. I will not be afraid." The older sisters cheered, seeing her willingness as an excuse to rid themselves of responsibility. With a trembling heart, the merchant took Beauty to the castle. Inside, the halls were empty yet warm, the table filled with food, and every corner seemed alive with magic. Then the beast appeared. Beauty trembled, remembering the terrifying descriptions her father had given her. Yet his voice was gentle, almost hesitant. "Did you come here of your own free will?" he asked. "Yes," Beauty replied softly. "Then tomorrow your father must leave and never return," said the beast. The next morning, Beauty awoke alone, her father gone. Breakfast awaited her on the table, and she explored the castle cautiously. She discovered a room filled with books, music, and flowers. Everything was arranged with thought and care, a reflection of someone kind. Perhaps the beast is not as cruel as he seems, she thought. That evening, he joined her at dinner. "May I dine with you, Beauty?" he asked. "You own this castle now?" she said, surprised. "No," he replied gently. "This castle belongs to you, but I wish to be near you." Night after night, the beast visited. He was kind, polite, and attentive. Slowly, Beauty's fear melted, replaced with curiosity and even a quiet fondness. One evening, he asked softly, "Do you find me ugly?" Beauty hesitated, then nodded. "Then, will you marry me?" Startled, Beauty shook her head. "No," she whispered. The beast turned away, sadness in his eyes. Yet he continued to visit each evening, treating her with kindness and respect. Time passed, and Beauty grew to care for the beast. But one day, the magic mirror showed her father gravely ill. She ran to the beast. "Please, let me go to him," she pleaded. "Of course," he said softly, "but promise me you must return. Without you, I may die of sorrow." He gave her a ring. "Place this on your table when you sleep, and you will awaken wherever your heart desires." The next morning, she awoke in her father's cottage. His eyes filled with tears as he embraced her, and soon he began to recover. Her older sisters grew jealous of her happiness and tried to persuade her to stay longer. Reluctantly, she agreed, not wishing to hurt them. But that night, she dreamt of the beast lying lifeless in the castle garden. She woke in a cold sweat. "What have I done? I must return at once." She placed the ring on her table, and when morning came, she was back in the castle. She ran to the garden, and there he lay, just as in her dream. Tears streamed down her face as she embraced him. "Beast, I love you. Please live." At that moment, magic filled the air. The castle glowed brighter than ever. The beast transformed into a young, handsome prince. "I was cursed by an evil witch," he explained. "Only true love could set me free, and you, Beauty, have broken the spell." Beauty wept tears of joy. The prince took her hand, and they married soon after. Her father came to live with them in the castle, safe and happy. Beauty's older sisters watched from afar, their envy replaced by understanding. Beauty had shown courage, kindness, and love, and had been rewarded with a happily ever after. And so, Beauty and the prince lived together in joy. The castle filled with laughter, music, and love, and the magic of kindness and courage shone brighter than any treasure in the world. And everyone who visited the castle knew true beauty comes not from riches, but from the heart. The end.